I'm glad you mentioned Rob, because that moves me nicely on to the other subject I'm going to talk to you about. Is Anthony Joshua is currently in the US, apparently looking for a new coach. What's your thoughts on the whole process and the fact that he's obviously looks like he's moving on from Robert Garcia?
I'm not interested in Anthony Joshua at all in the slightest. I've got nothing to say about him, to be honest.
That's pretty straightforward.
And those are the words of Carl the Cobra Froach. As you heard him say, that he has absolutely nothing to say about Anthony Joshua and not interested in Anthony Joshua at all, in the slightest. The slightest. And I find that real strange coming from Carl Froach. You know, there's a lot of reasons that you could reason on why he would say that now. Like maybe because, just maybe he's, maybe it was because he was talking about himself, you know, because he's been inducted in the Hall of Fame. And you know, Carl is a glutton for self-gratitude, okay? Because, you know, it's times where he, you know, has glamored and walloped in success, you know, with Wembley Stadium with 70,000. You know, he broke records at the time, of course, for it to be broken again by other fighters. Things of that nature. You know, the constant criticism of Anthony Joshua, you know, in the past, you know, and that just leads to the question, like, why don't you have anything to say about Anthony Joshua now? You know, he was one of the biggest criticizers of AJ. Now, all of a sudden, he doesn't have anything to say about him. Now, of course, we have to look at it for what it is. Carl Froach was just being nice, man. He's been nice. I mean, that him not wanting to speak on a particular person, that's just him saying, you know what? I don't have anything good to say about AJ, so I'm not going to say anything at all. You know? And I think where Carl and AJ split is when AJ started to excel, you know, and Carl Froach, of course, had some great fights, you know, like legendary fights and fights that mean something to me, like, you know, because I remember my mom and my dad watched him, you know, fight back in 13, you know, and it was one hell of a fight that he, of course, had. I forget his last name, started with an S, because I can't pronounce it. That's what it is. I don't want to ruin it. But, you know, it's crazy that Carl Froach, you know, would have that approach towards Anthony Joshua. You know, so coming from a person that always criticizes AJ, he has to be pretty pissed at AJ. So then you start asking why he decides not to talk about AJ now. Could it been because AJ decided to, you know, sack McCracken, and McCracken, of course, was that fighter that he's been with his whole career. So I guess he thought that Anthony Joshua, since he started with McCracken, was going to stay down that narrow path of loyalty with Rob like he did. Maybe that's why he was upset. Maybe, you know, the reason that AJ chunked those belts out of the ring because he didn't get the decision. You know, maybe that might have been, you know, what it is. Because, of course, where Carl has mentioned in the past that Anthony Joshua, you know, should have, you know, conducted himself in more class. And those were just slighter things. I think that was when he called Lennox Lewis a clown, or he said some type of words like that. And then, of course, Carl Froach had, you know, something to say about that. So maybe that's the reason for Carl Froach being as quiet, or not, or refusing rather, not quiet. Let me correct myself, counterpunch myself. Maybe that's why he's refuses to respond to AJ, because maybe he's just that, disgusted with him. Yeah. Maybe that's just the response that someone, when you're disgusted with someone, that's the response that you take, or you decide to give, that you won't give one at all. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think of Carl the Cobra Froach responding to Anthony Joshua in a peculiar way. Of course, please subscribe, and you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.